Arts integrated focus schools. To whom do they appeal and why? A case study of a public fine arts elementary school in British Columbia, Canada. Once upon a time, there was an elementary school on the brink of closure. Situated in the lower mainland of British Columbia, it had once accommodated more than 240 students. Now its population sat at 90. But it was not to suffer the fate of many small elementary schools whose student populations disappear. It did not become a book depository or a storage facility. Instead, it came to life as an arts-integrated school. Purporting to offer a new pedagogic approach, its classrooms quickly became full once again. This has motivated to investigate the value of the visual and performing arts in education, ultimately questioning to whom they appeal and why. In 2002, the British Columbia Ministry of Education passed Bill 34, which put the onus on school districts to create their own revenue. Although the ministry would still provide funding, school districts were nevertheless required to become separate corporate entities. Within the field of public education, there are limited means to do this, the main two being the recruitment of international students and the other to draw students into school districts through the provision of attractive program options. MOSAIC Elementary School is one such school. Now an arts-integrated elementary school, its population has risen dramatically due to the number from outside of the school's catchment area. My interest is in the motivations of those parents outside of the catchment area who are prepared to transport their children considerable distances in order to attend MOSAIC. The research focuses on parental motivations, but in order to provide a fuller context, includes interviews with educators who were or who have been active in the development of MOSAIC's arts integrated pedagogy over time. Prior to interviewing parents, those living outside of MOSAIC School's catchment area, I conducted several personal interviews with district and school administrators and teachers. Altogether, this would help me to better understand the appeal of MOSAIC as a space of learning. In a school community, there are many spaces of learning, of just trying to be. As a teacher at MOSAIC, I have held differing perspectives on the student population. I have questioned why so many arrive from outside the school's catchment area. Thus, I have occupied different places in the fields of position taking, ranging from Pierre Bourdieu's notion of art for art's sake, to a more general sense of the visual and performing arts as both discrete entities and enablers of other attributes. Equally important, I have observed the type of learning that occurs in MOSAIC, or, put another way, the different spaces of learning and being that involves not only formal academic studies, but also matters of socialization, behavior, friendships, and confidence. Hence, there are many spaces of learning within the community of a school, not just in a classroom. These are just a few examples of the spaces of learning that are less formally directed, incorporating both academic and social components. But there is some word confusion. To whom do arts-integrated schools appeal and why? Parents have interpreted words differently, and this has caused some misunderstandings. Fine arts is a large term that can mean many things to many people, including a discrete subject or a performance-based program. Arts integrated has a clearer focus on what the program will be. Arts could be all of the visual and performing arts, while art is a discrete subject. But for the purpose of this presentation, I will use the term focus school, a school with a particular pedagogic focus, one that integrates the arts throughout its curriculum. Arts-integrated pedagogy is not a particularly new concept, but it is one that is gaining more notice both nationally and internationally as parents seek alternate learning choices for their children. But such pedagogy is difficult to implement depending on the skills that each teacher possesses, ranging from simple arts add-ons to the ability to fully integrate the arts throughout the curriculum. Over the years, the arts in education have suffered as technology and science were seen as being more vital to our fast-changing world. But the arts, placed at the center of the curriculum, guarantee that they will not be relegated to a 7:30 a.m. time slot or indeed become extracurricular. Instead, they will be a means of learning, offering new academic rigor. Furthermore, the idea that the arts can enable a range of life skills, including confidence, poise, improved social skills, discipline, and self-motivation, is attractive to many parents. But as our world has become less and less public, turning more and more to privatization, so our public education systems have suffered. Simon Marginson's powerful writing reminds us that neoliberalism may offer some types of opportunities, but within the field of education, it offers only a sense of disequilibrium. Likewise, Harvey exemplifies the anxiety that today's parents must face as they worry about whether or not they have invested significantly enough in their own human capital for the sake of their children's education and consequently their children's future careers. The educational marketplace, as one product of neoliberalism, has potentially created a rebirth of class and opportunity. To whom do arts-integrated schools appeal to, and why? Is it because they ensure the inclusion of a particular group? Do they indicate higher socioeconomic neighborhoods, and with that, an assumption of better education, of better teachers? Or do they guarantee the preservation of culture and status? Finally, do some parental hidden agendas take advantage of schools of choice in less visible ways? And if all of this supports inclusion of one particular group, does it then also create a new space, that of the space of exclusion? Most often, is it the middle class who feel the need to buy into more upscale neighborhoods, or wanting to stay the same, preserving us, seek an advantage? What Professor Diane Ray calls a value-added gain. Hence, a school of choice, such as an arts-integrated school, is an attractive option for many middle-class families as they function within their own guaranteed place. And it is this group that suffers the dilemma of removing their child from one school and placing them into another on the basis that the new school will provide advantages and further opportunities in the future. Known as concerted cultivation, such parents structure a particular lifestyle for their children which directs specific areas of learning and personal interests. How did MOSAIC student population grow so rapidly? through the arrival of students from outside of its catchment area. It is clear that the visual and performing arts are an attractive option for many parents. Aside from the growth in student population, the most significant statistic shown here is that of ministry-designated students. These are students with a special need, be it a learning disability, intellectual, blind, deaf, physically dependent, behaviorally challenged, or gifted. This rise in numbers is dramatic. What does this say about parents' perceptions of the visual and performing arts in learning and how they perceive or value them? Before MOSAIC opened new doors and offered up its new pedagogy and curriculum design, there were the teachers. And in the beginning, there were difficulties, as teachers already at MOSAIC competed against those arts-trained teachers coming newly into the school. It was a dramatic beginning, and as misunderstandings arose between teachers and administrators, it was indeed a bumpy start. To preserve public education and the equality that public education stands for, there were challenges to the notion of a focus school in my school district. A now retired district arts consultant was concerned about the potential for creating a two-tiered system within our district as a result of a focus school such as MOSAIC. However, this has never eventuated. A greater concern to the MOSAIC staff has been the integrity required to fully maintain and practice an arts-integrated pedagogy. Are we doing what we say we are doing? We hope so. With the internet offering the world information at the click of a button, we reach a global audience, and we need to remind ourselves of this. To summarize my interviews with educators, it comes down to three main points, and the first one returns me to my question: to whom do arts-integrated focus schools appeal and why? Because many of the children enrolling from outside of the school catchment area have struggled with behavioral challenges, MOSAIC teachers have queried whether the school is not so much about the arts, as the arts have become enablers of improved behaviors. This is conversation that continues to this day. As well, levels of teacher commitment to the program have varied, and the debate about whether or not teachers should be required to have arts credentials in order to teach at MOSAIC has never been resolved. And if parents trust that their children will find a better and brighter future at MOSAIC, ironically, issues of trust have created hurt feelings and suspicion among some teaching staff. What then, and against this backdrop of teacher concerns, attracted parents to MOSAIC? Had I not come here, I would have gone somewhere else. I had brochures for St. George's, etc. I see this school is very, very competitive. Additional money in people's pockets in this catchment. He knew we were in a Ford and needed to upgrade to a Cadillac. This parent, who would have paid to educate her child at a very high-status private school, nevertheless complained later in her interview that the MOSAIC neighborhood had become more socio-economically affluent, and this was problematic for her. Yet, when I asked her whether she had conferred with her child before enrolling him at MOSAIC, she told me, "He knew we were in a Ford and needed to upgrade to a Cadillac." While a mixed perspective, Parent One's motivations are clearly based on acquiring a higher level of social and cultural capital. Conversely, this parent felt that her child's previous school had been too worried about issues of status. Believing that an art school would offer equality across all families, as well as a new approach to learning, she enrolled her child at MOSAIC. How does social and cultural capital work to ensure inclusion or exclusion? At the outset, the district advertised in a local newspaper about the new arts integrated school soon to be opened. The real means of advertising since then has been from parent to parent. But which parents? Who has this included and who has it excluded? Here we see an example of the productivity of social networking. Other motivations for enrolling at MOSAIC point to a need for parent self-fulfillment. While interviewing one of the school's now retired principals, I asked her, "What was the one question that you remember parents asking you the most? What question came up the most often when parents came to see you about MOSAIC?" Her reply was, they wanted to know if they could be a part of the school, if there was something they could do to be a part of their child's learning. But there are dilemmas. And what motivated this parent to remove her child from a school that she was seemingly happy at? This example of a parent dilemma in school choice exemplifies the anxieties and perceived necessity to search out what they consider to be the best learning for their children. We can no longer assume that the neighborhood school is going to be a parent's first choice. Yet another motivation for out-of-catchment parents was the assumption that an arts integrated pedagogy would be devoid of textbooks and worksheets. What appealed to this parent and other parents? The belief that a school with an arts-based pedagogy would need to offer a flexible curriculum, flexible teaching, flexible timetabling, and visual and performing arts throughout the day. Parents had many wonderful things to say about the school, and one of them points to the value of creativity. Creativity was paramount, as they believed it to be the key to a successful education, the foundation upon which all future learning success would rest. The arts were, in fact, the architect of the concept of the whole child. That MOSAIC appealed to some parents as a means to an end is not surprising. Every school district will offer different schools of choice, and some parents will enroll their children at what is available, so that in fact the choice school, often favored over the neighborhood school, will become a means to an end. But whether or not one should equate an undergraduate degree with elementary school, therefore not to be weighted as equally important as a child's secondary school years, is debatable. This parent had many wonderful things to say, and here is an example of the types of things he did say. Living in the moment, living through the moment, making the point that the arts should just be a natural part of our lives. Here I present a brief summary of my conversations with parents and educators. Most compelling to me is the first point, that regardless were happy with MOSAIC Elementary, but that the teachers were dissatisfied with the school programming. To me, there seems to be a disjunct there. Comparative are the parents that regard MOSAIC as a means to an end, while some teachers regard MOSAIC for its proximity to home, in that sense also a means to an end. that parents value life skill acquisitions, and that teachers see MOSAIC as a place for a second chance or a fresh start. And here we see the value on both sides of parents and teachers valuing inclusion and acceptance. But let me talk about the wider spatial perspective. In the end, it is very interesting to capture the variable factors such as transportation systems and proximity, as well as the cultural politics determining parental choice. And this has implications across diverse geopolitical entities. The visual and performing arts speak to us all. They are an international language. But arts integrated pedagogy, for whom? All children. And why? The visual and performing arts appeal to us. Within the spaces of a school, they have the power to foster creativity and nurture individual development, as well as new modes of knowledge comprehension. But should this be a choice or a natural part of our learning? I have not found an answer to that question, and therefore the research continues. Thank you for listening.